Okay, hello everybody. My name is James, and welcome to Virtual Visitas. This is going to be a discussion on multicultural perspectives, diversity, and right now we're having Visitas on campus, but we know that some of you guys couldn't make it, so this is just an opportunity for you guys to ask us questions, connect with us directly. We have a Q&A box that we would love to get some questions inside of. So if there's anything that you guys want to hear about in particular, please go ahead and ask. And we would really, really love it if you could send us some more questions. My name is James, like I said. I am a junior now. I am in Courier House, and I study sociology. And over here is my friend New.
Hi everyone, my name is New. I'm a sophomore. I'm also studying sociology, but I'm in Adam's house, and I work with James as a coordinator for the undergraduate minority recruitment program. We're super excited. We hope that you guys will join us in the fall, and so this is really an opportunity. If you still have any last-minute questions about Harvard, feel free, as James mentioned, to use the Q&A box to ask us questions, and we can try our best to answer them all. So yeah.
Okay, so since there aren't any questions right now, we have some to get us started off with. And the first one is what kinds of multicultural organizations are there on campus, and are they open to everyone? Well, there are very many multicultural organizations on campus, actually, and yes, they're open to everyone. Just for example, in my own personal case, I am part of the Black Student Association. It's been one of the really important organizations that I've been a part of. In my time at Harvard, I've met lots of friends through it and had a lot of fun. We also have a Black Men's Forum, ABWA, Associated Black Harvard Women. There are also groups for other affinity groups as well. So we have like some Latino organizations, Asian American organizations. Et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, there are a bunch of different organizations on campus, and yes, they're open to everyone. I personally think it's a good idea to check them out because they often have really good food at their meetings. So that's one of the things I like to do around campus is meet people through these kinds of organizations.
Yep. And just to tag along to what James said, I'm personally involved with the Asian American Women's Association, and that's been a wonderful experience for me, just because I love the community. And for AWA specifically, we're really focused on building community, but also sparking dialogue about issues in the community. And I think there's been a really great sort of initiative to have a lot of intercultural events and programming as well. And so this semester, for example, AWA reached out to Latinas Unidas and the Association of Black Harvard Women to do a joint study break, and that was a lot of fun. And so, yeah, there are a ton of cultural groups as well as ethnic groups here at Harvard, and it's just a really great sort of place to find community.
Yep. Okay, so next question. Is it okay to not necessarily be involved in a cultural organization on campus? Is it expected of students? My own personal experience, it's okay to do whatever you'd like. You can join the organizations that you're interested in and not the ones that you're not interested in. It's not necessarily expected, but I think that it's a good idea if you are a student who is interested in any sort of cultural organization or any sort of affinity group to go ahead and check it out. I personally, before I came to Harvard, wasn't a part of any sort of Black students organization in high school, but I found that when I did get to Harvard, it was it was awesome to have a community that was ready to welcome me, and it's where I, like I said, been able to find a lot of my good friends. So no, it's not something that you have to do, but I think it's probably something that you might want to check out and might want to do. Do
Yep. And
you have
also,
anything to add, Neil?
yeah, just that, it's I think they're pretty flexible cultural groups all around in terms of your involvement. And so, like, if you just want to check out an event here and there, get some free food and meet some new people, that's completely fine. If you want to, be really involved and help with the planning and eventually sort of become part of the leadership team, that's totally fine as well. And so I think there's a lot of great flexibility, not a ton of pressure to join cultural groups, but as James said, it's a really great thing to check out.
Okay, and next question. What kind of role do cultural organizations play in students' lives on campus? And we already kind of touched on this, but I guess it's okay to be a little bit more explicit. So they play a lot of different roles. And one of the main roles I think is social, right? So we do in Black Student Association, we do things like BSA families, for example. BSA families, they're named after different like famous black families from like television, like the Proud Family, or like the Huxtables, et cetera, et cetera. And they're different groups that you can elect to join. So you decide, okay, I want to be part of BSA families, and then they go ahead and assign you to a family, and then there are different family events. So you guys compete as a family, like doing like family feud night, or you get together as a family for dinner and take a picture, and that's like more points for your family. I'm part of the Proud Family. I'm proud to say that we won the Family Cup our first year. It's been a really great way to meet friends that way. But they also do different things like hold discussion events, panels for inviting speakers, talking about issues that affect the community. So yeah, there's a bunch of different roles on campus. Okay, so next question we have here is, do we find that minority students just stick to themselves, or are they integrated amongst the broader community? What do you think, Nu?
I think Harvard is a pretty well integrated place. Everywhere, from like the dorms. Like my freshman year, I was living in a dorm. My roommate was from Houston, but on that floor of our dorm, we had girls from Hong Kong, from Turkey, another one from Arkansas, and so you get a lot of geographical diversity. But yeah, very integrated, not just in the dorms, but also in the classrooms and in the dining halls. And so I think the community itself is very well integrated. And in terms of like minority students sticking to themselves, I really think the cultural groups serve as a way for them to sort of get together and like hang out with each other, because it's just nice sometimes, especially if you're a minority student, like to have that group that you can go back to and feel sort of that other people can understand you. But I would say overall, in general, I think Harvard is a very well integrated place.
Yeah, I agree with what Nu says. I don't think it's about like segregation. We like to say like it's about like congregation, like getting together with people who maybe for one reason or another you guys share some sort of cultural affinity or some sort of connection, and you guys would like to hang out, and that's all that it is. And it's not that only these people sit with these people and these people sit with these people. It's more like everybody gets to choose where they like to go whenever they like, and sometimes that means that you're going to congregate with the Black Student Association, and sometimes it means you'll go with some other friends. It really isn't as though it has to be one or the other. So we have some more questions, but I just want to remind you guys that we do have our Q&A box. So if you have anything that's burning, any pressing question, we really encourage you to submit a question. There's nothing that's off the table, and we're really hoping that you guys feel comfortable enough to ask us anything that's possibly on your mind, okay? So let's move on to the next question. What is the social life like at Harvard? What's the balance between school, extracurriculars, and having fun? Um, the social life at Harvard, I think, it's pretty personal. It depends on what you're looking for exactly. In my own experience, I've tried to kind of create a small group of like well-connected friends, and then we do all kinds of things together. So like in order to blow off steam on Friday nights, often we'll order Domino's and watch a movie, and that's one of the social things I do. Or there are of course things like parties. Sometimes I'll go out dancing with my friends on campus, or even in Boston. It varies quite a lot based on what people are interested in doing. A lot of my social activity, to be honest, does come through the organizations I'm part of, like VSA, like, as I mentioned earlier. Yeah, so it really varies a lot. And then, do you want us to talk about striking a balance, Nu?
Yeah, sure. So striking a balance. I think especially when you get here as a freshman, it can sort of be hard to find that balance because everything is new to you, and as a freshman, even I as a freshman wanted to sort of do everything at once, both with school and extracurriculars. But I think a good piece of advice is just to sort of take things slowly because they'll still be there. They're not going anywhere. The student organizations and whatnot. But in terms of finding a balance, I think learning really like what your own boundaries are, learning like how much you can personally handle and take on is sort of like I think the first big important foundational step in terms of striking a balance. If you know that you are really good at like multitasking, then you can pick up a few extracurriculars. If you know that you're the type of person who sort of might need a little bit more time transitioning, it's okay to just do one or two student organizations. But for the most part, I think it's a really easy, manageable balance that you can find here at Harvard because in whereas in high school you're going to school from 9 to 3. In college it's completely different, and you have a lot of freedom to structure your schedule however you'd like. So I have some classes that only meet once a week, and that opens up a lot of my Tuesdays and Thursdays. So I have a lot of free time, and in that free time I can watch Netflix, or I can do some work for my student organization, or I can like go into Boston and watch a movie. So I find that like as long as you know your boundaries and that you're not doing more than you can handle, it's very manageable and super easy to find a balance.
Yeah. So I think that it's definitely manageable once you figure out what's the right way to handle your schedule. For me, to be honest, I had a bit of a tough time in the beginning with figuring everything out freshman year. I was not quite striking the right balance, but thankfully we have a really good advising system, and I went to go talk to some of my advisors, try to get their opinion on how I can best manage my schoolwork and then my extracurricular stuff like that. And it's been pretty good since then. Of course, there are days where I have a million things to do and not enough hours in the day to do them. But on the whole, I'm getting a lot better at figuring out what's the best way to attack everything I need to get done in the day, and still have enough time to, watch an episode of Scandal or something when I want to. So
Mhm.
definitely possible. Okay, so next question. How important do you feel your identity as a minority student is as a minority student on campus? Do you feel limited or uncomfortable in any way? Um, for me, actually, it has been pretty important um, to be part of like the Black Student Association and to be involved in Black life on campus. So yes, I think it is important to me, but it's not in the way that it's like it's not in. It doesn't mean that that's like my whole life, right? So that's of course just one aspect of you. One aspect of me is also that I'm from California. One aspect is that I study sociology. One aspect is that I watch way too much TV. So it really isn't something that has to define your entire life. Um, and I don't think that I don't feel like I've been limited at all by being involved in Black life or being a minority student on campus. As far as being uncomfortable, there are times maybe where maybe I'm the only person in class who is Black in a section, and that maybe that can make me feel a little uncomfortable. Like maybe like I have to represent my race or something, but it's not as though that's not really something that I think I have to deal with on an everyday kind of basis. And when I do get feelings like that, stuff does come up. It's nice that I do have a community who can maybe relate to me on those kinds of issues, who can talk to me about that stuff. Um, so yeah, I think that it's not a problem to be a minority student on campus. It's what you make of it.
Yeah, and I would agree. I think it, probably depends on where you're coming from. I personally came from high school that was not very diverse, and coming to Harvard, I was really pleasantly surprised, sort of at how diverse it was. And I think my identity as an Asian American woman, it is a big part of my life here, and that's sort of the reason why I choose to be involved in that type of community. But it's something that I like, sort of find my like where I find my strength and my inspiration. So yeah, I don't think it's limiting. Um, yeah, I just don't feel limited, I guess, in that regard. But yeah, I think I just appreciate the fact that there is a lot of diversity at Harvard, and it's something that is celebrated by my peers. So yeah.
Yeah. Okay. What's one thing we wish we had known before coming to Harvard? Um, Nu, you want to start?
Let me take a few seconds to think about it. Um, one thing I wish I knew. Um,
I wish I knew that scarves were for not just for fashion, but were for actually like, protecting myself from the cold. I wish I knew that. I wish I had a scarf. No, but in all seriousness, what I think that I really wish that I knew before I came to Harvard was that it's okay to ask for help. Um, I think that a lot of people who come to Harvard from high school are used to being, they're doing very well in school. They're doing well in their classes and in other aspects of their lives as well. That's why they were admitted, right? So maybe they're not used to being asking for a lot of help. At least that was my own experience. I wasn't used to asking for a lot of help. And when I got to Harvard, things were tougher than they had been for me in the past. And I don't know if I was too prideful or what exactly, but I was reluctant anyway to ask for help. But I think that that's a mistake. So if you come to Harvard, please be willing to ask for help. There are a ton of resources. When I got to on campus, I was assigned, a proctor, which is like an RA, right? Just like a residential advisor. I also got an academic advisor. Also got a peer advisor, and so I had a team of like three people ready and willing to answer any questions that I had. And even when I was having a tough time at first, I didn't think to ask them, even though that was actually their job, and they were really great people, ready and willing to help me. But as I've progressed at Harvard, I've realized that it's actually not that difficult to ask for help, people are more than willing to help. So whenever I have questions in my class, I go to my professor's office hours. When I have questions about just general life advice kind of stuff, I'll go to like my tutor, which is again like a residential advisor, live in the upper class in houses. So that's what I wish I knew, that it's okay to ask for help, and that's a good idea to ask for help.
yeah. I guess along those lines, what I guess I wish I'd known is that it's totally okay to fail and to make mistakes. I think a lot of you who come to who like will be coming to Harvard might be used to being at the top of your class and being successful all the time. But for me, being at Harvard has been really humbling. And I remember freshman year, there were certain times where I felt like, you know, am I really supposed to be here? Like I'm like making mistakes and sort of not being what I like being the best version of myself. That's what I felt like. But I think I just realized that from those experiences you can really grow, and it's really okay that you're not like performing 100% every single day, and like I think it's just okay to be easier on yourself. Harvard is can be a really challenging place, and so I think if you give yourself that time to really just transition and be open to a lot of opportunities, I think the better off you'll be. Yeah.
Yeah, that's another thing I had known, is that there are lots of opportunities on campus, but you have to, go after them. It's not just going to be handed to you. It's not just going to come to you. But when you see something, it's okay to just go for it. Go get it. Like sometimes I feel like I got the sense that I wasn't maybe worthy of an opportunity, or like, oh, I'll never get it. Oh, that would never work out for me. Um, but when you're at a place like Harvard, you should go for the things that are available to you. There's a lot that's happening on campus. Like when the prime minister of Greece came, or when the president of Argentina came, I didn't go see them just because I thought, I don't know. I just think that I didn't take advantage of the opportunities that were there. It just didn't seem like maybe I deserved it, or maybe like it wasn't for me. Um, but I regret those kind of decisions. So when you come, take advantage of all the stuff that's available to you guys. So I think that that covers all the questions that we had prepared, but we do have this nifty Q&A box available for everybody. So if there's anything that you guys would like to know, we would love to hear from you guys. Please, please, please feel comfortable. This is not we're not admissions officers. We're not gonna like revoke your admission if you had to ask a dumb question. There aren't dumb questions. So please, please, please go ahead and submit if there's anything that you could possibly have on your mind regarding diversity or multicultural organizations or just life on campus in general. We'd be very, very happy to hear from you.
Also, if you think of any questions in the future, what you can do is email the Undergraduate Minority Recruitment Program, and we can get back to you. So the email for that, if you want to take it down, is umrp@fas.harvard.edu. So yeah, so feel free if you think of any questions in the future to send us an email, and we can get back to you. But thank you so much for watching this with us, and I hope that you all learned more about multiculturalism and diversity here at Harvard.
Yeah, and before we let you go, I just like to say that I didn't think that I was going to like Harvard. I didn't think I was going to get in when I applied, and then when I got in, I didn't think that I was going to fit in. I think. I don't know, it just didn't seem like it was going to be a place for me. But I came for Visitas, which I know you guys aren't able to do. But when I did come for Visitas, it was just an experience where I met all kinds of people, some people who were very, very similar to me and I connected with right away, and some people who were very different from me. And so it was awesome because I met people who was very easy to become friends with, and also people who challenged me to think in different ways, and that's why I ended up at Harvard. So please consider it. Oh, and I think we have a question from Sophia Lee. Okay, so what kind of social activities do different multicultural organizations have on campus? Okay, want to take that, New?
Sure, I would love to. So the social activities really vary, and that's the great part about social activities from multicultural organizations. So in my own organization, we do, like community dinners. So like every week, we all just like get a table in Quincy Dining Hall and eat together for dinner once a week. That's really great. We threw like a Galentine's brunch this year, and so the day before Valentine's Day, we got together for brunch. We have had mixers with different groups on campus where you're, meeting different people from different groups or different colleges. We've had sort of like dance parties where people come and dance, and it's just a fun social time. Another, sort of thing that we try to do is like go out into Boston, and so I think just 2 weeks ago we had a trip to the Dumpling House in Chinatown here in Boston, which is really, really yummy. And then I'm also thinking last fall we did a kayaking trip out on the Charles River, which is really close by to Harvard. So yeah, fun things like that.
Yeah, that's basically similar to what I've been done in the BSA. We have mixers. We get together and eat a lot. One of the things I think that the BSA and other Black organizations do on campus that is really awesome is at the end of the year we have two different dinners. Actually, three different dinners, right? So there's a celebration of Black men, and there's celebration of Black women, and then there's like a third event flown by the BSA that I can't recall the name. I think it's like Black Diamond or something. And there are these three different dinners. They're all like kind of formal-ish dinners where we honor outgoing seniors. So at the women's one, we just do women, men, just men. And then at the BSA's dinner, everybody, and we just give different awards for people like and we don't, no, actually they're not actually awards, they're just honoring everybody. So every Black graduating senior who would like to participate comes, and then one of their friends usually gives like a little speech describing what the person's like and what they've done on campus, and then everybody cheers and we eat good food, and we also bring guests often. So for this year's celebration of Black men, for example, we brought Tribe Byers. I don't know if you guys watch Empire, but he's on Empire. He's Andre, like the older brother on Empire, and he came, so that was cool. Uh, okay, we got another question. So, can you participate in activities hosted by groups or communities that you are not a member of? Yes. That's it. It's pretty simple. There are no communities or organizations that are discriminatory. Everybody is welcome. Mm, I've gone to events for like Latino organizations. I'm not Latino. And vice versa, and it's very common actually. So yes.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Are there any other questions? Thank you for that, Pancho. Nope.
Okay. Well, yeah, if you guys don't have any more questions, as I mentioned, feel free to send it to the UMRP email if you do have questions in the future. But for those of you who have committed to Harvard, we're so excited to have you in the fall. And for those of you who are still asking questions, I think my advice is just to reach out as much as you can to current students. That's what personally helped me decide on Harvard, is reaching out to current students and having conversations with them, getting your questions answered. And so, yeah, I would say if you're still sort of trying to figure that out, reach out as much as you can to current students.
Yes, and once again, to contact the UMRP Undergraduate Minority Recruitment Program, just send an email to umrp@fas.harvard.edu. Okay, wait, we have another question. For you, is it worth it to be part of a group? Is it time consuming? For me personally, I'm part of, I mean, if you mean organizations in general, yes, I mean, I think it's worth it. You do what you want to do on campus. One of the beauties of being at Harvard is that there are so many different organizations that are available to students. I think we have something in the range of over 450 different student organizations, that there's probably something that you're looking for. And if not, there's something that you could always create your own organization, actually. So I think it is worth it to be part of a group. It's a good way to meet like-minded people, people who share your interests, people who you can become friends with. Like I said, I met a lot of friends this way. But it can be time-consuming. Yes, it can be time-consuming. But if it's something that you want to do, I know if we say it's not like you're working. It's more like you're enjoying yourself doing whatever work you're doing. So yeah, it definitely can be time consuming, especially around times like now. We're doing Visitas, trying to reach out to new students. It can, but as we spoke about earlier, you just have to figure out what the best balance is for yourself. So for me, I try to not take on too many different leadership positions in the organizations that I'm a part of, because that can get a bit hectic. And of course, you can commit on any different level. You can be part of the leadership. You can be the president. You can run the organization, or you can just show up to events whenever you feel like it, here and there. So it's as time-consuming as you want it to be.
Yeah, and I would agree with James. I think, probably one of the best parts about my Harvard experience is is my like experience with these groups. And yes, it is time consuming, but you learn so much, you meet new people, and you grow a lot too as a person. So like, being involved with the Asian American Women's Association, yes, it's a lot of social activity, but if you're part of the leadership, you also grow professionally, like learning how to manage a team, learning how to plan events. And so I think it's sort of the best of both worlds. You get to make friends, but at the same time you're growing on a personal level. So yeah, it's time consuming, but 100% worth it, in my personal experience.
Yes, and when I've gone for like interviews and stuff, they've asked me what kind of organizations I'm involved in on campus. What am I doing on campus? And they like to hear about the kinds of groups you're involved in and what kind of work you're doing for them. So let's say, for example, you are let's do just me, for example. I on the BSA board. I am the diversity and inclusion chair, right? So my job is to make sure that everybody who wants to be included in BSA activities can be, regardless of their sexuality, gender, et cetera, et cetera. Anybody who feels like joining feels welcome. And so part of that means that I have to do different to reach out to different students. I have to throw events, and when I go for an interview, I talk about my work that I do. I talk about how I organize an event, how I plan out things, and those are skills that you need not just while you're in a club at school, but also what you're going to need to be doing in the workplace as well. And so it is time consuming, but it's not a waste of time, is what I want to emphasize.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Is there anything else before we go? Okay, we have something from Noah. So how would you describe your decision between so many organizations? What do you think, New? How did you pick which organizations to be part of?
Um, I think two things. One, your interest, and two, how well you see yourself, or like you see yourself getting along with like current members of the organization in terms of like, is it a good fit for you, basically? So, for example, this past semester, I was thinking between, should I do AWA or should I, choose the Crimson, which is the journal, the big newspaper magazine that we have on campus. And, I do have an interest in both categories, right? Like being Asian American is part of my identity, and I love writing as well. But sort of going to those two meetings and figuring out, what is my interest in these two organizations, like am I more interested in one thing or the other? So that's sort of the first thing. And then secondly, how comfortable do I feel in these spaces? And it's not that I didn't feel comfortable with the Crimson, but it is a much bigger organization, if that makes sense. And AWA is much smaller. And for me personally, I wanted that very close-knit type of community. And that's why I chose AWA over the Crimson. So I would say interest is a big part of it. And then also I think like, whether or not you vibe with the people.
Yes, I feel the same way, the same exact way. And we have a follow-up question, and what would be the maximum number of organizations? So there isn't really like a cutoff. I mean, there's no like Harvard rule that says you can only do this many organizations on campus. However, I recommend that you figure out what's going to work for you. Don't take on too much onto your plate. For me, I do the only board position I have right now is with the BSA. I previously held board position also with QSA, which is Queer Students and Allies, and I've been involved with some other organizations as well. But beyond that's what's been comfortable for me. So I do that, and I also work on campus for the undergraduate minority recruitment program, and that's been what's been comfortable for me. Just being on maybe one board of an organization, maybe two. But not taking on too much because I have work as well, and then I have my schoolwork as well. So there's no like cutoff number. You just got to do whatever suits you. Yeah, whatever works for you.
Yeah, and I think freshman year is a really good time for you to figure that out, because I think the trend that we see a lot of times is freshmen, when they get here, pick up like 5 different activities, and then by sophomore year they do sort of ask themselves like, okay, which of these 5, do I still want to continue being involved in? If like one of them you might not feel as connected to the community, or like, it could be that you're not feeling that your needs are being met in some type of way, and so you, as a sophomore and especially as a junior, you start focusing mainly on like 1 or 2 groups that are like really important to you. But yeah, there's no max, but I would, as a Harvard student, I would strongly encourage you to keep it, at a number that is healthy and balanced for yourself.
Yeah. Okay, we have another question. Is there an extracurricular fair in the beginning of the year where you can find out information about what organizations are on campus? Yes, there is. There is an extracurricular fair at the beginning of the year. It's outdoors. It's held in the Quad, which is where I live. And there's food available too. They bring in food from all around Boston. I had way too many pot stickers last year, and we'll probably again have too many pot stickers at the next one. But yeah, all the organizations are out. They have like science fair type boards usually, so like information about their organization, and they also have sign up lists. So you can sign up if you'd like to just get emails to find out more about the organization, when they're meeting, what they do, and it's just a nice way for students to figure out what's available. When there are so many organizations on campus, it can be a bit overwhelming. So it's nice that we have this way to interact with the organizations right away on campus. But so yeah, there's definitely a fair, and I recommend going.
Yeah. And even, if for some odd reason you were to miss the extracurricular fair in the beginning of the year, what a lot of organizations do, especially in the first couple of weeks of school, is they just hold general informational session meetings, and they'll publicize that over dorm emails and stuff like that, and you can go to that meeting to just find out more information. And so even if you were to miss the extracurricular fair or something, most clubs will have just that first general informational session.
Yes, so even if you miss it, and they also have their own websites, usually all the organizations, so it's not that tough usually to get in touch with the group that you might be interested in. And also we have our own Harvard website where you can check out all the different organizations on campus. It's through the Office of Student Life, so if you want to check them out even right now, just go on the internet, type in OSL, Harvard Student Organizations, and there should come up like a very long list of organizations and descriptions about what they do at each organization, and like emails to contact them. You can even start contacting them right now if you want to find out more. Okay, good. We have two more questions. So I've heard that Harvard doesn't have air conditioning. Is that true? Harvard dorm rooms do not have air conditioning. Like a lot of the classroom buildings and stuff will, but Harvard dorm rooms do not have air conditioning. But I would not be concerned about that, because the only time that you could possibly desire air conditioning is like in the very beginning of school and like the maybe the very end of school. It hasn't been something that I've missed especially. I got a fan at the beginning of the year when I moved to Harvard, and that served me just fine. So no air conditioning, but we're here from basically fall through spring, so it's not the hottest time. Next question. What has been your favorite moment / experience at the school? Were you glad you made the choice that you made? Do you want to start new? Or?
Yeah, sure. I'm definitely more than glad with the choice that I made, and yeah, I chose Harvard, and I haven't looked back since. But to answer your question about my favorite moment or experience, that's tough. I guess I have a few experiences sort of running through my head right now, but one would definitely be my freshman year. I joined the varsity rugby team, and I had never played rugby before. That was just such a great, fun experience, and in that first season, we won the Ivy League championships, and I know for me that moment was just so thrilling and so exciting. Another moment that I'm thinking about right now is my freshman year. We had a lot of snow during the winter one day, and at midnight, my classmates and I posted over the Harvard, Facebook page saying let's do a snowball fight at midnight, and we had so many people come out into the Harvard yard, which is where all the freshmen live, and we just had this massive snowball fight. And then we went sledding down the Widener steps later, and that was super fun as well. But yeah, I mean, just general moments I think sometimes of being able to enjoy the sunshine, sitting outside in the courtyard. I think yesterday I was doing that, and it was just so beautiful. Yeah, so small moments like that make me really happy and glad to be here. Yeah, what about you, James?
Um, I've been trying to think about an exact favorite moment, and I can't really think of a pinpoint, a precise moment. But I can say that the experiences I've had where I felt like I've gotten to know my friends better, to connect with them on a personal level, have been really important to me. So, for example, freshman year. Freshman year, I was in Lamont Library very late doing homework. Lamont is our like 24-hour library, so people go there when they're having maybe a tough time. Okay, so I went to Lamont and my friends were there, and we finished our work, and then we started chatting, and it was very late, maybe like 1 a.m., and we were just talking with each other, and we just talked and talked and talked until the sun rose, and it was 6 a.m., and we decided maybe it's time to leave. It was just a nice way to get to know somebody, get and feel close to somebody. Or another time, speaking of the sun, it reminded me my freshman year, we took my futon mattress from my room on like the first like sunny day that we had after the winter. I'm from California, and let me tell you, I've never enjoyed like spring and like sunlight more than I enjoyed it after my first winter here. And so we took my futon mat and we drug it out of my room and drug it outside, and we just lounged on it, and we were like supposed to be studying but we weren't, and we just like took naps and like laughed and played music from our computer, and it was just really lovely. So yes, overall I am glad that I made the choice that I made. um, Harvard has given me people in my life that I think will be with me for a very long time. At least I really hope so. Um, yeah, and it's awesome. It's giving me opportunities that I wouldn't be able to have otherwise. Right now, I don't know if you guys know this, but I am secretly in Argentina. I'm in Buenos Aires. I'm studying abroad, and I wouldn't be able to do that kind of thing if it weren't for Harvard. It weren't for the fact that through their financial aid, I was able to do something like this, and it's incredible. So yes, I'm very happy that I did make this choice. Okay, next question. Who has been your biggest slash most influential mentor or mentor as at Harvard? What do you think? Do you have any mentors in mind?
Yeah, definitely. I've gotten really close with my sophomore advisor this year, and I don't know. I think she reminds me a lot of my older sister. She's like a friend, and so like she checks in and makes sure that like I'm okay, but also sort of like this, yeah, as a mentor, basically, also making sure that like even though she and I have like a very cordial relationship, that like I'm still like doing what it is that I need to do. And so, yeah, she's been there a lot for me this year, and I really look up to her a lot. She's very wise, and she's just given me a lot of advice through hard times, and also she shared a lot of happy times with me this year. And so I definitely see my sophomore advisor.
Yeah, my excuse me. Excuse me. So I don't think that any of my like assigned mentors, like people who are like specifically supposed to be a mentor, like an advisor or whatever, have been my greatest mentors. They've been very helpful, of course, when I needed them. But to be honest, my greatest mentors have been some of my teaching fellows. So teaching fellows are um, they're TAs, teaching assistants, basically. They're grad students usually, and they're just there to help you, figure out the course material. They supplement the professor. And I've had multiple times where I like invited like a TA out to have like brunch with me, or just out to have like a coffee and to talk about the course material, but also just talk about like themselves and what they're doing. I'm thinking about very like in the early stages of thinking about maybe like going to grad school, and so they're a perfect resource for me. Just say, hey, like I'm thinking about doing this, this, and this. Do you mind talking? Or I send an email out and to just ask questions. My one of my people is in Spain right now. She's doing research there, and so I've just sent her questions about what it's like to be in grad school, what she recommends that I do, how to prepare. So yeah, that they've been to my greatest mentors. Okay, it seems like the questions may have dried up. If there's anything else, we'd love to hear from you, so go ahead and ask. Otherwise, we'd love to repeat that there will be, you guys can ask questions if there's something that you guys didn't get off your chest now or something that comes to you later by submitting your questions to the UMRP email, umrp@fas.harvard.edu, umrp@fas.harvard.edu.
Yeah. Awesome. Thank you so much, everyone.
Yeah, thank you guys very much for tuning in, and we hope to see you in September.